You may know Spirit Airlines for its signature bear fare. Well, now a Chicago woman says she wasn't allowed to board a flight from Miami to Chicago after she was accused of bearing too much.
And during the ordeal, her sister was arrested. Our Charlie DeMar joins us now to show us how this chaotic scene played out. Charlie.
And Joe and Erica, those sisters are now back in Chicago. They tell me they are healing and processing everything that they experienced in Miami. And all of it stems from a pair of shorts that Spirit Airlines deemed were a little too short.
These are just regular shorts. This is how I walk through the airport with these shorts on.
Tanisha Grayer says this is the exact outfit that caused turbulence as she tried boarding a flight from Miami to Chicago this week.
You don't have to get in my face.
You don't get to tell me what to do.
And you don't get to tell me what to do.
Do.
We were getting ready to board the plane, and the lady at the front desk, she stopped me and said, "You're not getting on a plane like that." So I looked at her and I said, "Like what?" She said, "With those shorts."
Grayer says the shorts that she wore on the Spirit Airlines outbound flight to Miami were just as short, but she was allowed to board without a problem.
They said that you can't have the bottom or your butt out. That's why this robe is on. That's why this robe is on, so that I'm not too revealing.
I'm telling you,
I'm right here. You need to get out my face. You don't have to address me like that.
In January, Spirit Airlines revised its passenger policies to enforce a stricter dress code, giving the airline the right to deny passengers if they're wearing see-through clothing, exposed breasts, buttocks, or other private parts, or wearing lewd, obscene, or offensive clothing and tattoos.
Contract of carriage.
Clint Henderson is managing editor for the travel website and blog The Points Guy.
They're well within their rights to kick people off who they don't feel are dressed appropriately.
This is crazy. This is insane.
That's the voice of Grayer's sister in the background, Jessica Kordaluski.
They treated me like a real criminal.
She was arrested, booked, and later released in Miami for disorderly conduct at the gate, which caused the flight to be delayed.
I'm going home. Getting on a flight and going home.
Now, Spirit Airlines said in a statement that Grayer refused to comply with the dress code when she was given an opportunity to do so. Now, again, the sisters, they're back in Chicago, and Kordaluski was placed on Spirit Airlines' no-fly list. We are live in the newsroom tonight. Charlie DeMar, CBS News, Chicago. Joe and Eric.
All right, man. So I wanted to talk about this one because, when I first saw it, I was like, you mean to tell me she didn't have enough sense to know that she couldn't come to the airport dressed like that. And, it was something that my wife and I, we talked about because we travel a lot. And it's one of those things where we've seen some crazy stuff at the airports with, a lot of different things. But when it comes to boarding a plane, you're there to board the plane, not walk down on the beach, and you're not going to some backyard barbecue. I mean, you got families, kids, elders, everybody around. And instead of dressing with that in mind, I think this woman walked in with underwear on, because that's what it is. It's underwear. It keeps saying shorts, but that's underwear. And then she walked in there with underwear on and a robe, like that somehow made it okay. And I think what really got me is the way she she acted like she was shocked when she was confronted about it, like it was some kind of big injustice. I think she knew what she was doing. The robe alone tells you she was already on edge about the outfit. If it wasn't inappropriate, why cover it up with a robe, a bathrobe? By covering up with that bathrobe, I think she knew people might have had a problem with what she had on. So she probably said, well, let me just put this bathrobe on just in case somebody says something. And to me, it just shows that she was anticipating somebody saying something, but wasn't willing to make the full correction. Because if she really thought the outfit was okay, she wouldn't have worn the robe at all. And I think she gambled on getting by. And when that gamble didn't work, she flipped it into something bigger, like she was the one done wrong, and she went to the news about it. I mean, you don't cover up an outfit you think is fine. You do it when you know it's not. And to show up in a bathrobe, I think is already crazy in itself. But I think this was attention-seeking behavior, point blank. She showed up to be noticed. She got noticed, but it wasn't the attention that she wanted. And for her to say that she was there for 40 minutes and nobody said anything, I think it's irrelevant. But it's that same kind of excuse that people make when they're trying to, justify getting caught. Just because nobody said anything earlier, it doesn't mean that you're in the clear. That's like somebody saying, I was speeding 40 miles back and I didn't get pulled over. But then when they get pulled over and they say, well, I shouldn't get a ticket now because I didn't get pulled over earlier. But that's the logic that some people have walking around out here every day. They don't want to be held accountable for their actions and choices. The policies that are in place don't become invalid just because you slip by unnoticed or because you made it through the airport in Chicago on your way to Miami. And one thing to remember is that businesses, they have the right to refuse service as long as it's not based on discrimination. A private corporation like Spirit Airlines is fully within its right to say they refuse service. And when you buy that ticket, you're agreeing to the legal agreement, like that contract of carriage, where they have the right to remove anybody that's disruptive, wearing inappropriate clothing, and other things. But look, you absolutely have the right to wear whatever you want. That's your freedom. But here's the catch. That doesn't mean a private business has to accept it. When you step into a store, a restaurant, or in this case, an airline gate, you're in their house, and just like you do in your own home, they set the rules. If they say no revealing clothing, no offensive language on shirts, or no certain types of attire, you either respect it or you don't fly with them. It's simple. And so at the end of the day, after all this was said and done, she eventually caught another flight home, I think with a different airline, and she changed her clothes when she could have avoided all the drama in the first place and been back home versus wasting time arguing, going to the news about it. And her sister, got locked up and put on Spirit's no-fly list. I mean, all of that was just unnecessary. And it could have been just handled in the beginning before it got to this whole point of, being like a whole dramatic ordeal. So y'all take care, y'all stay safe, and just try to make better choices. Peace, y'all.